God wills to give us birth by the word of truth. But like Pilate sarcastically asked Jesus before crucifying him, what is truth? It's a fundamental question of the human experience. In a world where there seems to be more fake than real, bombarded by things like fake news, fake images, fake promises, what's really real anymore? One practical way to find an answer to this question is to choose authenticity. In The Power of Vulnerability, Dr. Brené Brown shows that authenticity is a choice. She says mindfully practicing authenticity during our most soul-searching struggles is how we invite grace, joy, and gratitude into our lives. So many of us experience life as a soul-searching struggle. Were Christ to respond to this today, I believe he'd respond in 2 words. That's real. At least, that's what he seems to be raising in today's gospel. What's real to his antagonist's pride versus what's real to God. The author of James highlights what's real. To embody God's mercy and justice for God's creation, especially the marginalized and vulnerable, and not conform to apathy and injustice. The psalmist reinforces this truth, reminding us that the one who does justice will live in the presence of the Lord. To live in the presence of the Lord, to be in union with God, isn't simply an afterlife hope. It's also a choice we can make right now. To be sure, observing tradition is important. It keeps precious memories alive. It's one of the sources of theology. In a world where there's so much fake, the realest need is to make our world a more just or grace-filled place. From economic inequity to disproportionate incarceration rates to environmental destruction, our world, God's creation, needs a liberation that only God can bring. A liberation that requires us as people of faith to rise to our core responsibility as God's stewards. Jesus says things that come from within can defile. Things that come from within can also sanctify. Faith and faith-based action come from within. Advocacy and advocacy-based action come from within. Inviting the soul-saving word of grace, joy, and gratitude into our lives sanctifies the world, and it comes from within. Again, observing tradition is important. But as long as our cultures don't reflect a praxis imbued with an ethos of God's love for the poor, our mission is not yet complete. A society truly informed by Judeo-Christian principles would evidence its wisdom and intelligence to nations by caring first for the most vulnerable, without regard to race, class, gender, ability, ethnicity, political leanings, religion, or nationality. Until just human rights are guaranteed to every person by right of their God-given dignity, we need to continue promoting what's real and reforming what isn't. As a people, birthing justice through grace, joy, and gratitude makes sure our tradition isn't lip service to God's commandment. When we choose authenticity, when we choose what's real, when we choose what's true, we welcome the soul-saving word that has been planted within us into our lives.